Hi there, Wieke. As requested, I'll correct this technology essay as it is. So what I'll do with this one is edit it live for you and provide you with an ideal example of your essay. So I'll extract your ideas, which are that intellect was strengthened due to the improved efficiency of information gathering. So, idea 1. Improved efficiency of information gathering leads to, actually let's say, increased efficiency and improved intellectual abilities. No, actually, intellectual potential. Idea 2. Humans must adapt to technology, let's say, in order to experience its benefits. So then if we rewrite the intro to incorporate your main ideas, we arrive at some people believe that technology should be adapted to suit the needs of people, whereas others believe that humans should adapt their behavior to new advances to technology. Personally, I believe that learning how to use new technologies, as well as the improved acquisition of information brought by the internet, let's say, actually brought about by the internet, has made humans intellectually stronger, and so I side with the latter view. So now we know what our ideas are and what our intro is. So here, let's make the intro sentence a little clearer. Try to leave personal pronouns that refer to yourself or your audience out of your body paragraphs. It's fine to leave these sorts of things in your intro and conclusion where we are considering the idea, but it's better in our body paragraphs to objectively discuss an idea rather than what we think. This helps it to seem more like an evidence-based discussion rather than purely opinion. While this essay does ask for your opinion, academic essays require that opinion is based on evidence. So then to improve this paragraph, I would say, firstly, technology has considerably improved the methods by which, no, I'm doing the same thing as I've just asked you not to do, people gather information. So then the next sentence, more specifically, there we go. So now we have an introduced idea and an expanded idea. Then we can say, this is borne out by a recent study from Harvard University that demonstrated but demonstrated that certain African villages that gained access to the internet performed significantly better on intelligence tests than those who had no access. And then we can bring in this statement that you said. It is therefore clear that access to modern technologies improves the intellectual capacity of people. So then this is where we've introduced the idea, and this is where we've explained what it means after we've expanded and supported it. So here you introduce the idea, but then you also try to summarize it in the start of the paragraph. So leave any conclusions to the end of the paragraph. This is what I'm going to talk about. These are the details. This is the evidence. This is what it means. And then we could say, furthermore, adapting to new devices such as washing machines and typewriters. So they were the original typing and writing machines. Increased human productivity. The changes to habits actually, these changes to habits require learning, which has been shown to maintain and develop cognitive abilities. Oxford University recently I'm doing it again. So I'm just going to remove these personal pronouns. Actually, no, it's that. Sorry. That people's daily habits have changed significantly over the past 50 years, and that they now spend considerably less time performing manual tasks. Thus, it is evident that adapting human behavior in order to use new devices provides numerous benefits. So this as well, my next point would be try not to use etc. the use of ambiguous phrases, because the idea behind academic writing is that we are trying to be as precise as possible. So if we're saying just this list continues, but I'm not going to include this extra information, it's counter to the need for precision. So etc. and so on, I would leave out of any academic writing. So now that we have our body paragraphs and our, let's just format this. And here we can say, for this reason, I think that humans should adapt their lives to emerging technologies. So then, we have answered all of the questions, and we have a grammatically correct and well-considered answer. Well formatted as well. So here you see that the three things in the intro mean that the intro is usually ever so slightly longer than the conclusion, but more often than not, the body paragraphs should be roughly the same size, because they should be equally considered. Well-considered ideas usually require roughly the same amount of writing. So let's move on to your task 1. I would say here that European cities is fine. The bar diagram illustrates the expected tourists Mexico, Canada and the United States. Expected tourists that will visit 4 European cities in thousands in 2018. It's only measured in 1 year, or projected for 1 year, so the per year measurement is not required. If it were 2018, 2019 and 2020, we could talk about the number of visitors per year. But as it's only 1 year, it's just in 2018. Firstly, it is clear that every country is expected to show a clear preference for one of the 4 cities. Well done for including this. A lot of people forget and just type will visit or are going to visit. But we must remember that these are expectations, projections, estimations. Madrid, Istanbul and Paris are the preferred destinations for Mexico, Canada and the USA respectively. We should always try to back up our statements with data. Even if it's not clear, we can say roughly this number or almost this number. So whenever we do say something about the graph, we should reference the data in that sentence. So the diagram shows that the total number of tourists from the USA is forecasted to be considerably higher than those from Mexico and Canada. This is actually, should be 2/3. This is actually grammatically correct, it's fine, but we need to add the data into these sentences using, it's projected, the number of visitors, let's see, from the USA is forecasted to be considerably higher than those from Mexico and Canada. Overall, the total number of tourists. So here, just do that, because you don't really need to number like firstly, secondly, thirdly with the task 1s. In fact, we don't really need them at all. unless it adds context to the sentence. You don't really need those cohesive phrases in a task 1. The number of tourists from Mexico is approximately half that of the USA, and Canadian visitors represent 2/3 Canadian. 2/3 of the number of tourists from the USA. That would be better. Inhabitants of Mexico are expected to prefer to go to Madrid. Still, even though this is a good comparison, I would prefer it if you had data in here. So then, Canada will show a preference for Istanbul with approximately, don't say approximately more than, just say approximately 60,000 visitors. If you said more than 60,000 visitors, that would have been fine as well, but you don't need both, because both of them are ambiguous, approximate statements. This here should be a semicolon. A semicolon separates two distinct sentences that are related, but a colon presents information. These are quite complicated punctuation marks, and my recommendation with any kind of punctuation or grammatical construction is only use it if you are 100% sure of its use. And after a semicolon, we don't capitalize the first letter of the new sentence. One further point as well for consistency is that to mix numbers like this might be considered incorrect in the exam. It's much better to follow the convention of 60, 1,000. But yeah, my biggest point for your task 1 would be more data. The comparisons are good, and the discussion of conclusions that you can draw are good, but the question asks you to summarize the main information, make comparisons where relevant, and discuss trends where possible. The idea behind these is to describe the graph so accurately so as the examiner need not look at it. So on the next one, let's give that a go. Although the next task 1, I believe, is a flowchart. These ones often stump students, so I'll be very interested to see how you do. So we only have 2 corrections left. I recommend that we get one of them done today and one of them done tomorrow to enable you the proper study time for your exam. Well done on getting this far, Wieke. I am sure we will have you well above a band 7 before Thursday. Have a great evening and speak soon.